Quoting him on Twitter, he has since denied that Mr Assange is an ally, but Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill had this to say to the committee.
The notion that the soon-elected leader of this country would put Julian Assange on a pedestal compared to the men and women of the intelligence community and the military that is so deeply embedded in the intelligence community, I think it should bring about a hue and cry, no matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. There should be howls.
Well, the Republican leadership have found themselves at odds with Donald Trump on hacking. Their view is Mr Trump is rightfully concerned that people are using Russia hacking as to call into question the legitimacy of his victory. But they believe Russia did hack the US and should be penalised, but it didn't impact the election outcome. The Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has been critical of intelligence agencies in the past, but today he showed his support.
Putin's up to no good, and he better be stopped. And Mr. President-elect, when you listen to these people, you can be skeptical, but understand they're the best among us, and they're trying to protect us.
That report from Laura Bicker ending with the Republican Senator Lindsey Graham pouring praise where the President-elect, Donald Trump, has sown doubt. So what do two former career Secret Service officers make of the claims and of the dangers? Nigel Inkster was assistant head of the British Secret Intelligence Service, or MI6. Michael Scheuer was a senior officer with the CIA for more than 20 years and is a Donald Trump supporter. What does he make of the claims that Russia was behind the hacking?
I don't doubt that Russia was looking into the election and power grids and everything else in the United States, and certainly we're doing it the same to them. It's an issue for me, Mr. Franks, that is, it's not much ado about nothing, but it's an issue which is loaded with emotion and I think dangerous to bring to the idea that it's an act of war, as Mr. Graham did. This is just standard operating procedure for intelligence services. And I mentioned in another situation today, we had 3 consecutive Joint Chiefs of Staff chairmen, military men, who lied to the American people constantly about all the great improvements that were occurring in Afghanistan. The government was becoming more solid. The military could defend the country without us. All of it has been a lie. Has the intelligence been that bad, or were they towing the political line? I tend to think it was the latter.
Nigel Inkster, from your point of view as a former senior man at MI6, have you had any experience of politicians, prime ministers or other heads of government expressing this level of doubt about the intelligence agencies?
I think if we look back to the 1970s, we find that President Richard Nixon had a very poor relationship with the CIA, and his then national security advisor, Henry Kissinger, tended to dismiss the CIA as a bunch of West Coast liberals. So that was a fairly damning indictment. I mean, a former boss of mine, my first boss, the late Sir Maurice Oldfield, used to say that one of the key jobs of intelligence services was to deliver inconvenient information that the policymakers didn't want to hear because it told them that their policies weren't going to succeed, that they'd been lied to, or whatever. And that is indeed one of the primary functions of an intelligence agency. It can, at the top levels, particularly in a highly politicized environment such as Washington has now become, an easier thing to say than to do.
Michael Scheuer, I know that you've been making the argument that those at the top of the security agencies have perhaps compromised themselves in recent years. Is there a danger, though, that if Donald Trump comes in too dismissive into the White House, that it could, as those security agency bosses were saying before the Senate Armed Services Committee today, be very demoralizing for the CIA, for the National Security Agency, and so forth?
Mr. Franks, I think there is within the working body of the intelligence community in the United States, especially the CIA and NSA, a thirst for someone to tell the truth, because I think there's an enormous difference between the intelligence that is collected, processed, analyzed, and verified, and the intelligence that's delivered. In my own career, I was very much involved in finding out if there was any record at all of Saddam Hussein having nuclear weapons in 2003. The agency concluded there was no evidence. But that was not the message that was delivered to Mr. Powell or President Bush. So the problem is a great one. How do you get the correct information, the information you're most confident in, delivered, as Mr. Inkster said, without a smile?